Hello, everybody. This is Mrs. Lehman from Math with Mrs. Lehman. I'm glad that you've tuned in on this fine Friday. Today we are doing lesson 17, which is making our own coordinate planes and adjusting the scale as necessary. So before we start before we dive right into that, we're going to do some warm-ups here, okay? So I have a few number lines set, and please stop tapping the rulers. Thanks, everybody. We're going to practice our scales. So this isn't in the book. This is just me doing this. All right, so you guys are used to plotting some points on a number line. Let's say we had these points. What could we use as a scale to put those points on our number line? What would be an appropriate scale?
Scale of 1.
Yeah, we could just count by ones, plain and simple, right? So 0's in the middle. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. This is -1, -2, -3, -4, and we would just plot these points. Oh, there's a 5 down here. -3, 4, and -2. Okay, so that's no problem. Easy stuff, right? Now, what if we had, 0, and then we have all these lines, and we want, whoa, that's too close. Notice before we move on, up here, each jump is worth 1, right? Every single jump. So we're not going, 1, skip a few, 5, let's count by 5s now, 10. We're using a consistent scale, meaning we are jumping by the same amount every single time. Each jump is worth the same quantity. Let's say we had different numbers. Let's say we had these numbers. No, it's going to be too much there. Let's say something like this. What if we had that list of numbers? 2/3, 1 1/3, -1/3. What do you think we should count by? Jaden, nice and loud.
Third.
Very good. So we would say, okay, this is worth 1/3, this is 2/3, this is 1, this is 1 1/3, this is 1 2/3, and we could go on all day with it, right? Nothing earth-shattering, right? This is not, mind-blowing math here. And you can go ahead and plot your points. Super exciting. All right. So we just used a smaller scale, right? We just counted by smaller increments to fit all of those points. All right. We could also use a big scale too. The point of this is you're not limited to just using a scale of 1. All right. If we had bigger numbers, let's say we had to plot these points. What would we use as a scale? What would best suit our needs here? Elijah?
Counting by putting 5s on the number. Counting by 5s on the number line.
Very good. Yep, we're going to count by 5. We're going to use a scale of 5, and you can plot all of those points. All right. Again, notice in each of these examples, each jump is worth the same amount within that number line. Okay. Now, kids get it when it's on a horizontal basic number line. Sometimes they get confused, though, when we have to combine a vertical and a horizontal number line together, both meeting at 0, right? We have plenty of examples of this, though, in the coordinate plane. So we're going to practice altering our scale depending on our points. If you guys go ahead and look at page 71, which I think this is 71.
Yeah.
Example 2. We're going to skip around a little bit, but this example says that we need to draw a coordinate plane on the grid below and locate and label the following points. So I'm going to pause the video, and the kids are going to put the axes on the grid and label the axes, and we'll be right back. Okay, nice job with that, guys. Everyone has their coordinate plane set up, so we're on page 71. And they labeled their axes. Okay, so what we're going to do first is determine the scale we need to use, what we need to count by, what each jump is worth, what would be appropriate for all of our x coordinates, okay? So we have what for x coordinates? Who can yell out the x coordinates for me? Kyle, nice one. All right, what do we think we would want to count by? Look at your smallest number. What's our smallest number here? 1. On the positive side is 1, right? On the negative side, though, it's negative 4. And we have to go all the way up to what? 9, right? So we need to count by what? We want to make the most efficient use of our space here. Elijah? We have 10 spots to use. Somebody help them out. Liz? 1. Yep, we're just going to count by 1. Now, don't be confused by this, all right? You do not need to label every single line, okay? We can choose to label every other. A lot of kids, if they saw this labeled like this and they were asked, what is the scale, they would mistakenly say, some of them would, oh, you're counting by 2s. You're not counting by 2s. You're counting by 1s. You're just labeling every other, okay? So again, what the scale is what each jump is worth. Any questions on that? All right, let's look at our y. This is 0, obviously. The origin will always be 0, okay? It doesn't matter what your scale is. You always have to make the origin 0. Now, every jump is worth the same amount. Every jump here is worth 1. You can't all of a sudden say, oh, but I've got this really big number on the end that I want to fit in here, so I'm going to count by 1s and all of a sudden start saying, I'm going to count by 100s or something silly. Okay? Every single jump has to be worth the same amount. All right, let's look at our y coordinates. Who can tell me what the y coordinates are? Jaden, nice and loud.
20, 35, negative 35, 10, negative 4.
Very good. So what would we want to count by? Would we want to count by 1s? No. What could we count by instead? So we can fit all of the points on here. You want to count by 10s, then we're going to get all the way up to 100. Do we need to go that far? No? Okay. What do you think, Mackenzie? 5s. Do you guys think 5s will work well? Yeah, we need to accommodate all of the points, but we don't want to waste a lot of space either. So again, if this is 5, then we don't need to label everyone. Maybe we want to skip, okay? So a recommendation is that we put the labels on the left-hand side of the axis, okay? So let's put them over here. That way it prevents any confusion with the lines we make and negative signs when we start talking about below the bottom part, okay? Okay, this is later. I know. It's kind of a dreary day around here. What am I doing? I made a mistake. No, I didn't. Never mind. I was good.
Yeah, you were doing every other one.
Yeah, I'm doing every other one. Because what is the scale I'm using here? 5s, right? Even though you're going to look at that and go, oh, you're counting by 10s. I'm only labeling every other one. So this, again, I'm putting it on the left-hand side. Negative 20, negative 30, negative 40, and negative 50. All right, so now we could plot a point or two here, and then we're going to move on to the next one really quickly because we're running out of time. All right, negative 420. Now, before we move on, let's label these points. If points are not given a name, then we have to identify their location. If we go ahead and call this point A, then we can label it point A on our graph. Does that make sense? Otherwise, you have to put the coordinates in ordered pair right there. So negative 420, you should go over. Go ahead and plot that right there. Label it A. You can't call it A unless you make sure that's written down somewhere. All right, tonight for homework, you are going to finish plotting those points. All right, let's go to page 72. You guys have already done the X and Y axis as far as drawing them on there. Make sure they're labeled. This is the Y axis. This is the X axis. Okay, so let's look at these points. We have what for X coordinates? Who can list off the X coordinates real quickly? We have a pencil getting sharpened, which you need a good sharp pencil, right?
0.1, 0.5, negative 0.7, negative 0.4, and positive 0.8.
Very good. All right. So what could we use as a scale there? Would we want to use ones? No, because why? Why would we not want to use one? Because all these are in the tenths place. Very good. It would all be mushed, right? If we did tenths, it'd be like, okay, 0.14. Oh, okay, there's my point, and then like everything would be in these two columns here. Like that would be silly. So let's spread this out. Let's count by, what do we want to count by? Mackenzie? 1/10, she says. Very good. So for our x-axis, we're going to count by 1/10. Again, we don't need to label every one. Maybe we only want to label the fifth one, right? So this is 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. This would be 5/10 right there. 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10. This would be 10/10, otherwise known as 1. Right? Make sure you do the same thing on the negative side. You could label every other here as well. I mean, you could label every one. It just gets a little cluttered when you do that. So just recognize it's what each jump, the scale is what each jump is worth. All right. What's that? Oh, it's very clear. Okay. We need to then look at our y coordinates. What do we have for y coordinates? Same two kids keep answering every question. The rest of them are taking a little nappy poo. They're not taking a poo. Just for the record, nobody's taking a poo. They're taking a little nap, I should just say.
It's 4, 7, negative 5, 3, and 1.
William, what do you think an appropriate scale would be?
Maybe 1 or 2.
Counting by ones, maybe. If we count by twos, right, we're going to have a lot of room we don't end up using because we only have to go up to 7, right? So that would confine us a lot. So let's count by ones, all right? So for our y-axis, we're going to count by ones. I'm going to label every fifth jump. What am I doing? Maybe I'm taking a nap. Again, not a poo, but a nap. All right, so just making sure everybody's awake. All right, we'll do the same thing down here. They're all saying nappy poo now. All right. Anyway, we are going to label these points because we haven't done that yet. So go ahead, we're going to call these really creative names A, B, C, D, and E. Your homework is to plot these points now with the modified scaling, okay? Question. You did your homework. See, this is not challenging, is it, Kyle? Kyle's like whipping through this. Yep, so great. You guys can spend the rest of the class time to work on that. I'd like to thank the viewers for watching this entire video. I know, painful at times. But please don't forget to like and subscribe. We're up to, I think, 71-ish subscribers. So it'd be great if we could make it to 100 by the end of the year. So again, thank you for liking and subscribing. I hope you have a great weekend. And thanks for watching Math with Mrs. Lehman. Bye!